Mother Bear bathed the baby. Using her own fur for towels, what happened next was shocking. Let us know where you're watching from. If you love my content, consider supporting it with a super thanks. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help us to remain in touch with amazing people like you. The morning mist clung to the forest floor like a whispered secret. Zara Mitchell adjusted her backpack straps as she followed the narrow trail deeper into the wilderness. Her 3-year-old daughter, Luna, skipped ahead with the boundless energy only toddlers possessed. The child's bright yellow raincoat stood out like a sunflower against the emerald backdrop of towering pines. "Stay close, sweetheart," Zara called softly, her voice barely disturbing the peaceful silence. She had come to these woods seeking solace after her husband's recent passing. The therapist had suggested nature therapy, and somehow, being surrounded by ancient trees felt like being held by something larger than her grief. Luna giggled and pointed at a butterfly that danced between the branches. "Mama, look, pretty." Zara smiled, the first genuine smile she had managed in weeks. Perhaps this trip would help them both heal. She pulled out her phone to capture the moment but frowned when she saw no signal bars. The isolation that had seemed peaceful moments ago now felt slightly unnerving. The trail curved around a massive boulder, and suddenly they emerged into a clearing where a crystal-clear stream bubbled over smooth stones. Luna clapped her hands in delight and immediately began pulling off her tiny hiking boots. "Luna, wait," Zara started, but her daughter was already wading into the shallow water, squealing with joy as the cold stream touched her feet. That's when Zara saw her. On the opposite bank, a massive brown bear stood perfectly still, watching them. Zara's blood turned to ice. The bear was enormous, easily 6 feet tall even on all fours, with thick, glossy fur that caught the dappled sunlight. But what made Zara's breath catch wasn't the bear's size. It was the tiny cub nestled between her front paws. The mother bear's dark eyes met Zara's across the stream. Time seemed suspended. Luna, oblivious to the danger, continued splashing and babbling happily. The sound of her laughter echoed off the rocks, and something extraordinary happened. The mother bear tilted her head, almost as if she were listening to music. Her ears, which had been flattened against her skull in a defensive posture, slowly relaxed. She took a step forward, then another, moving with surprising grace toward the water's edge. Zara wanted to scream, to grab Luna and run, but her body refused to move. Every parenting instinct told her to protect her child, yet something in the bear's demeanor held her frozen. The animal moved without aggression, almost with curiosity. Luna noticed the bear and stopped splashing. For a terrifying moment, child and wild animal stared at each other across the narrow stream. Then Luna did something that nearly stopped Zara's heart. She smiled and waved. "Hi, bear," Luna called out in her sweet, innocent voice. The mother bear's response was unlike anything Zara had ever witnessed. She made a soft rumbling sound, not a growl, but something almost like a purr. The cub beside her looked up at its mother, then at the human child, as if trying to understand this strange encounter. Slowly, incredibly, the mother bear waded into the stream. Each step was deliberate and careful, her massive paws disturbing the water only slightly. Zara found her voice at last. "Luna, come here. Come to Mama right now." But Luna, fearless in the way only children could be, stayed put. She had bent down to examine something shiny in the streambed and was now completely absorbed in her discovery. The bear was getting closer. Zara's mind raced through everything she knew about bear encounters. Play dead? Make noise? Back away slowly? Nothing in her limited knowledge had prepared her for this moment. The bear was only 10 feet from her daughter now, and still approaching. Then something happened that would change everything. Luna slipped on a moss-covered rock and fell backward into the water with a splash. She came up sputtering and crying, her yellow raincoat now soaked through. The cold mountain water had shocked her system, and her cries echoed through the forest. The mother bear's reaction was immediate and startling. Instead of being frightened away by the noise, she moved faster, reaching Luna in 3 quick strides. Zara screamed and started running toward the stream, but what she saw next made her stop in complete bewilderment. The bear was not attacking. Instead, she was gently lifting Luna out of the water with her massive paws, cradling the crying child against her warm, dry fur. Luna's sobs began to quiet as she felt the bear's body heat warming her chilled skin. "What is happening?" Zara whispered to herself. Hardly believing what she was witnessing, the mother bear began to do something that defied all logic and expectation. She started grooming Luna, just as she would her own cub. Using her broad tongue, she carefully licked the water from Luna's face and hair. Then, in a gesture so tender it brought tears to Zara's eyes, the bear began using her own thick fur to dry the child, pressing Luna gently against her chest and rubbing her back with slow, rhythmic motions. Luna had stopped crying completely. She was now making soft cooing sounds, her small hands buried in the bear's luxurious coat. The mother bear's fur was so dense and warm that it absorbed the water from Luna's clothes like the most expensive towel. Zara stood knee-deep in the stream, transfixed. The scene before her was impossible, yet it was happening. A wild bear was bathing and drying her daughter with the same care she would show her own offspring. The bear's cub watched from the bank, occasionally making small whimpering sounds as if asking for attention. The mother bear seemed to understand. She gently placed Luna on a dry rock, then retrieved her cub, bringing it over to meet the human child. For several minutes, the 2 young ones examined each other with fascination. The bear cub was only slightly larger than Luna, with fluffy black fur and bright, curious eyes. "Mama, puppy!" Luna announced, reaching out to touch the cub's soft ears. The mother bear watched this interaction with what could only be described as approval. She positioned herself between the children and Zara, not as a threat, but as a guardian watching over both her biological child and this strange, hairless cub she had apparently adopted. But even as Zara marveled at this miraculous scene, she noticed something that made her stomach clench with worry. The sky was darkening rapidly, and the wind was picking up. Storm clouds were gathering overhead, and the first drops of rain were beginning to fall. They needed to find shelter, but how could she take Luna away from this incredible moment? More importantly, how could she explain what had just happened when no one would ever believe her? The rain began falling harder, each drop creating ripples across the stream's surface. Zara pulled her hood up and took a cautious step forward. "Luna, sweetie, we need to go. It's starting to rain." But Luna was completely absorbed in her new friendship. She had discovered that the bear cub enjoyed having its ears scratched, and the little animal was making contented rumbling sounds. The mother bear watched this interaction with what seemed like amusement, occasionally nudging her cub closer to Luna when it became shy. "Just a few more minutes, Mama," Luna called back, not taking her eyes off her furry companion. Zara felt torn between wonder and maternal concern. The temperature was dropping with the approaching storm, and they were miles from their car. She had packed light for what was supposed to be a short morning hike. Now, with Luna's clothes still damp despite the bear's careful drying efforts, hypothermia was becoming a real concern. The mother bear seemed to sense Zara's distress. She lifted her massive head and looked directly at Zara, then at the darkening sky. For a moment, their eyes met again, and Zara felt a strange connection, as if they were two mothers communicating without words. Then the bear did something that left Zara speechless. She stood up on her hind legs, towering nearly 8 feet tall, and let out a series of low, rumbling calls that echoed through the forest. The sounds were unlike any bear noise Zara had ever heard in nature documentaries. They were almost melodic, with varying tones and pitches. Within minutes, Zara heard rustling in the undergrowth. Her heart pounded as she realized the mother bear was calling others. Were they about to be surrounded by a family of bears? She grabbed a sturdy branch from the ground, though she knew it would be useless against multiple wild animals. But what emerged from the forest wasn't what she expected. First came an older bear, graying around the muzzle, moving with the careful dignity of age. Behind him followed a younger female bear, and then another cub, slightly older than the first one. They approached slowly, deliberately, showing no signs of aggression. Luna clapped her hands in delight. "More puppies, Mama! Look at all the puppies!" Zara wanted to correct her daughter's terminology, but found herself too amazed to speak. The bears had formed a loose circle around the stream, all watching Luna with the same gentle curiosity as the mother bear. It was as if they had been summoned to witness something extraordinary. The storm was intensifying now. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the rain was coming down in earnest. Zara's clothes were soaked through, and she could see Luna beginning to shiver despite being pressed against the warm mother bear. That's when the eldest bear made a gesture that changed everything. He turned and began walking toward a cluster of large boulders at the edge of the clearing. The other bears followed, and the mother bear gently nudged Luna to her feet. She made soft, encouraging sounds, the same sounds she used with her own cub. "I think they want us to follow them," Zara said aloud, hardly believing the words coming from her own mouth. Luna didn't need encouragement. She took the bear cub's paw in her small hand and began walking alongside the extraordinary procession. The mother bear stayed close to Luna's other side, ready to steady her if she stumbled on the uneven ground. Zara followed behind, feeling like she had stepped into a fairy tale or a vivid dream. The rain was now falling in sheets, but somehow she felt protected, surrounded by these magnificent creatures who had inexplicably accepted them into their group. The eldest bear led them to what appeared to be a natural cave hidden behind the boulder formation. The opening was partially concealed by hanging moss and twisted roots, invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. As they approached, Zara realized this wasn't just any cave. It was clearly a den that had been used for generations. The interior was surprisingly spacious and dry. The walls were smooth rock, worn down by centuries of weather. The floor was covered with a thick layer of dried grasses, leaves, and what looked like carefully collected mosses. It was warm inside, heated by the collective body temperature of the bear family, and insulated by the earth surrounding them. Luna looked around in wonder. "It's like a house, Mama, a bear house." The mother bear settled down in the center of the den, and her cub immediately curled up against her side. She looked at Luna expectantly, then at the spot beside her. The invitation was clear. Zara hesitated. Every rational thought told her this was dangerous, that wild animals were unpredictable, that she was putting her daughter at risk. But the rain was pounding against the cave entrance and Luna was still shivering. The practical choice was also the impossible choice. "Okay," she whispered more to herself than to anyone else. "Okay." Luna needed no encouragement. She snuggled up against the mother bear's other side, sighing contentedly as the animal's thick fur enveloped her like a living blanket. The bear began the same grooming behavior she had shown at the stream, carefully licking Luna's damp hair, and using her fur to absorb the remaining moisture from the child's clothes. Zara sat nearby, still clutching the useless branch, watching her daughter being cared for by a creature that should have been their greatest threat. The other bears had settled around the den's perimeter, creating a living wall of protection against the storm outside. As the thunder grew louder and lightning began flashing across the sky, Zara found herself relaxing despite the surreal situation. The den was filled with the sound of gentle breathing and soft rumbling sounds from the bears. Luna had fallen asleep, her small body rising and falling with the rhythm of the mother bear's breathing. But just as Zara began to think they might actually be safe, she heard something that made her blood freeze. Voices, human voices, getting closer through the storm. "The tracks led this way," a man's voice shouted over the rain. "Fresh bear tracks, and they're huge." "Got to be the same one that's been raiding the campsites," another voice replied. "Finally got a chance to take her down." Zara's eyes widened in horror as she realized what was happening. These weren't hikers or park rangers, they were hunters, and they were tracking the very bear who had saved her daughter. The mother bear had heard them too. Her body tensed, and she lifted her head, ears alert. The other bears in the den began to stir, sensing danger. But what broke Zara's heart was seeing the mother bear's dilemma play out in real time. She looked down at Luna, still sleeping peacefully against her side. Then she looked toward the cave entrance where the hunters' voices were getting louder. Her own cub was pressed against her other side, depending on her for protection. Zara realized with growing dread that the mother bear was going to have to make an impossible choice: protect her own family or the human child she had inexplicably bonded with. And the hunters were getting closer every second. Zara's mind raced as she tried to process what was happening. The voices outside belonged to at least 3 different men, maybe more. Their heavy boots splashed through puddles as they moved closer to the cave entrance. She could hear the metallic clinks of their weapons and equipment. "Storm's getting worse," one hunter called out. "Maybe we should head back to the truck." "Not a chance," came a gruff reply. "This is our best shot at that bear. She's got cubs with her. She'll be defensive, easier to corner." Zara felt sick. They were talking about the same gentle creature who was currently keeping her daughter warm and safe. The mother bear seemed to understand every word. Her ears flattened against her head, and she began making soft, urgent sounds to the other bears in the den. What happened next amazed Zara even more than everything that had come before. The bears began moving with silent, coordinated precision. The elderly male positioned himself near the cave entrance, his massive frame blocking the opening. The younger female bear moved to the back of the den with her cub, but the mother bear did something unexpected. She carefully, gently lifted Luna in her arms and carried her deeper into the cave. Zara followed, her heart pounding so hard she was sure the hunters would hear it. As they moved further back, she realized the cave was much larger than she had initially thought. It stretched back into the mountain, with multiple chambers and passages carved by centuries of water flow. The mother bear seemed to know exactly where she was going. She carried Luna through a narrow passage that opened into a smaller chamber, completely hidden from the main entrance. This room was even more carefully prepared than the first, with soft bedding made from pine boughs and dried moss. It was clearly a nursery of sorts, a place where bear cubs had been raised for generations. Luna stirred as the bear gently placed her down, but she didn't wake completely. The mother bear positioned herself between Luna and the passage entrance, her body language making it clear that she would protect the child at all costs. "Stay here," Zara whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was talking to Luna or the bear. "I need to." But before she could finish the thought, she heard her daughter's voice, sleepy but clear. Mama Bear is scared, Luna mumbled, her eyes still closed. Bad men want to hurt her. Zara froze. How could Luna possibly understand what was happening? The child was only 3 years old, and she had been asleep. Yet, somehow, she seemed to sense the danger as clearly as the bears did. The mother bear looked at Luna with something that resembled surprise, then at Zara. For a moment, the three of them remained perfectly still, connected by an understanding that transcended species. Then they heard the hunters' voices much closer. There, behind those rocks, I can see the cave entrance. Perfect! If they're in there, they're trapped. Remember, we need to get the sow first. She's the dangerous one. Zara's blood turned to ice. She had to do something, had to warn them somehow. These men had no idea what they were about to destroy. The mother bear wasn't a dangerous predator. She was a guardian, a nurturer, someone who had shown more maternal instinct toward a stranger's child than many humans ever did. But what could she do? She was one woman with a 3-year-old child, hidden in a cave with a family of bears while armed hunters approached outside. Then Luna did something that changed everything once again. She sat up fully, her eyes bright and alert despite having been asleep moments before. "Mama," she said in a voice that sounded strangely mature for her age, "we have to help them." "Luna, sweetheart, we can't—" "The bears helped us," Luna interrupted, her small hand reaching out to touch the mother bear's paw. "Now we help them." The mother bear looked down at Luna, and something passed between them that Zara couldn't understand. The bear made a soft sound, almost like a sigh, then gently nudged Luna toward Zara. "She's saying goodbye," Luna announced matter-of-factly. "What?" Zara's voice cracked. "Luna, how do you—" "She has to go fight the bad men," Luna continued, tears starting to form in her eyes. "But she doesn't want to leave us." The mother bear was indeed preparing to leave. She touched her nose to Luna's forehead in a gesture so tender and deliberate that it looked like a blessing. Then she looked at Zara with those deep, intelligent eyes, and Zara understood. The bear was entrusting Luna to her, just as Zara had unknowingly entrusted Luna to the bear by the stream. "Wait," Zara whispered as the mother bear began to move toward the passage. "There has to be another way." But the bear was already gone, moving through the cave with silent grace. Zara could hear her reuniting with the other bears in the main chamber, their low rumbles of communication filling the cave. Luna began to cry, not the tantrum tears of a frustrated toddler, but the deep, heartbroken sobs of someone who understood loss. "She's going to get hurt, Mama. The bad men are going to hurt her." Zara pulled her daughter close, her own tears mixing with Luna's. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but now it was overshadowed by a different kind of tempest, the approaching confrontation between the hunters and the bear family. Then Zara heard something that made her stomach drop. "There they are!" 3 adults and 2 cubs. "Take the shot now." The sound of gunfire echoed through the cave, followed by roars of pain and rage. Zara covered Luna's ears, but it was too late. The child had heard everything. "Mama Bear!" Luna screamed, her voice raw with anguish. Zara held her daughter tighter, both of them trembling as the sounds of conflict continued outside. There were more gunshots, more roars, and the terrible sounds of large bodies crashing through the underbrush. But then, something unexpected happened. "What the hell?" one of the hunters yelled. "They're not attacking. Why aren't they attacking? The big one's just standing there, blocking the cave." Zara realized what was happening. The mother bear wasn't fighting back. She was protecting them, but she wasn't retaliating. She was simply standing her ground, absorbing whatever the hunters threw at her, refusing to abandon the cave where Luna was hidden. "Something's not right," a third voice said, uncertainty creeping in. Bears don't act like this. Who cares? We came here to hunt bears, and that's what we're going to do. Another gunshot rang out, followed by a roar of pain that made Zara's heart shatter. Luna broke free from her arms and ran toward the passage. Luna, no! But Luna was already scrambling through the narrow opening, moving with determination that belied her age. Zara followed, panic driving her forward. When they emerged into the main chamber, Zara saw a sight that would haunt her forever. The mother bear was lying on her side near the cave entrance, blood matting her beautiful fur. She was still breathing, but barely. The other bears stood around her, making soft, mournful sounds. Luna ran straight to the injured bear, throwing her small arms around the massive neck. "Don't go, Mama Bear," she sobbed. "Please don't go." The mother bear lifted her head with tremendous effort and touched Luna's face with her nose one last time. Her eyes, still gentle despite her pain, met Zara's across the cave. And in that moment, Zara made a decision that would change both their lives forever. She walked to the cave entrance, where she could see the hunters reloading their weapons, preparing for another assault. They hadn't seen her yet. Their attention was focused on the bears inside the cave. Taking a deep breath, Zara stepped out into the storm. "Stop!" she screamed at the top of her lungs. "Stop shooting!" "There's a child in there." The hunters spun around, their faces showing complete shock at seeing a human emerge from the bear den. For a moment, everyone stood frozen in the pouring rain, trying to process this impossible scene. "Lady, what the hell are you doing?" the lead hunter demanded. "Get away from those bears. They're dangerous." "No," Zara said, her voice steady despite her terror. "You're dangerous. That bear saved my daughter's life. She's been protecting us from the storm." "That's impossible. Bears don't—" "She bathed my daughter in the stream," Zara continued, tears streaming down her face. "She dried her with her own fur when she got cold. She brought us here to keep us safe from the storm. And now you've shot her for being what she is, a mother trying to protect her family." The hunters looked at each other uncertainly. This wasn't what they had expected to find. "Ma'am," one of them said more gently, "you need to get yourself and your child away from those animals. They might seem calm now, but—" "She's dying," Zara interrupted, her voice breaking. "The bear who saved my daughter is dying because of you." Behind her, she could hear Luna's continued sobs echoing from the cave. The sound seemed to affect the hunters more than anything Zara had said. "There's really a kid in there?" the youngest hunter asked, lowering his rifle slightly. Before Zara could answer, Luna appeared at the cave entrance. She was still crying, her small face streaked with tears and dirt. But what shocked the hunters most was what she was carrying. In her arms was the bear cub, the one she had befriended by the stream. The little animal was trembling, pressing against Luna for comfort. Behind them, limping heavily but still alive, came the mother bear. She had somehow found the strength to follow Luna outside, determined to protect the child even while dying from her wounds. The hunters stared in stunned silence as Luna walked past them, carrying the bear cub, followed by a wounded mother bear who showed no signs of aggression despite having just been shot. "Please," Luna said in her small, clear voice, looking up at the men with eyes full of tears. "Please don't hurt Mama Bear anymore. She was taking care of me." The lead hunter's rifle wavered in his hands. This was unlike anything he had ever encountered in 20 years of hunting. But the story was far from over. As they all stood there in the rain, a new sound reached their ears, the distant wail of sirens, growing closer by the minute. Someone had reported the gunshots, and help was coming. The question was, would it arrive in time to save the mother bear, And what would happen when the authorities discovered this impossible scene in the wilderness? The sirens grew louder, echoing off the canyon walls as emergency vehicles navigated the winding forest roads. Zara knelt beside the mother bear, her hands shaking as she tried to assess the wounds. Blood was seeping through the thick fur, but the bear was still breathing, still conscious. Her dark eyes remained focused on Luna, who sat nearby, cradling the trembling cub. "We need to stop the bleeding," Zara said, looking desperately at the hunters. "Do any of you have first aid supplies?" The lead hunter, a weathered man in his 50s named Dale, slowly lowered his rifle completely. He stared at the scene before him as if trying to convince himself it was real. We don't hunt to torture," he said quietly. "You thought what?" Zara's voice was sharp with grief and anger. That it would be fun to shoot a mother protecting her babies. "We thought she was the rogue bear," a younger hunter named Kevin spoke up, his face pale. "The one that's been attacking campsites, destroying property. Fish and Wildlife put out a warning." "Does this look like a dangerous rogue to you?" Zara gestured to where Luna was gently stroking the cub's fur, while the mother bear watched with obvious affection. The third hunter, an older man with kind eyes, had already begun digging through his backpack. "I've got some medical supplies," he said. "Not much, but—" He pulled out gauze, antiseptic, and the emergency blanket. "Name's Frank. I'm sorry, ma'am. This isn't how we intended things to go." As Frank approached with the supplies, something remarkable happened. The mother bear, despite her pain and the fact that these men had just shot her, didn't growl or try to defend herself. Instead, she remained perfectly still, as if she understood they were trying to help. "Easy, girl," Frank murmured, his voice gentle as he began examining the wounds. "Let's see what we can do." The bear had been hit twice, once in the shoulder and once along her ribs. The shots weren't fatal, but they were serious enough to cause significant blood loss. As Frank worked to clean and bandage the wounds, Zara noticed something that made her heart race. Luna was talking to the cub in what sounded like a series of soft chirps and rumbles, almost like the sounds the bears had been making to each other. And incredibly, the cub was responding, making similar sounds back to her. "Luna," Zara called softly. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" "Talking to baby bear," Luna replied matter-of-factly. "She's scared about her mama." "How are you? How do you know what she's saying?" Luna looked up with those bright, innocent eyes that seemed to hold far more wisdom than her 3 years should allow. "Same way I know when you're sad, Mama. I can feel it." The sirens were very close now, and through the trees, Zara could see flashing lights. But as the first emergency vehicle pulled into the clearing, Luna suddenly stood up, still holding the bear cub. "They're coming to help," she announced to the mother bear. "Nice people, like Mama Frank." She pointed to Frank, who looked surprised to have earned Luna's trust so quickly. The mother bear made a soft rumbling sound in response, and Luna nodded seriously. "Okay, I'll tell them." "Tell them what?" Zara asked, completely bewildered. But before Luna could answer, park rangers and paramedics burst into the clearing. The lead ranger, a woman in her 40s with short auburn hair, stopped dead in her tracks when she saw the scene. "What in the world?" she breathed, taking in the sight of a toddler holding a bear cub while a wounded adult bear lay peacefully nearby. "Ranger Martinez," Dale called out, recognizing her. "We need to explain what happened here." "I think we all need explanations," Ranger Martinez replied, her hand instinctively moving to the tranquilizer gun on her belt. "Ma'am, I need you to step away from those bears immediately." "No," Luna said firmly before Zara could respond. "Mama Bear is hurt. We're helping her." The ranger blinked in surprise. Children weren't supposed to be this calm around wild animals. Sweetie, those are dangerous. No, they're not, Luna interrupted. They're family now. One of the paramedics, a young man named Jake, had been listening to the exchange with growing amazement. The child seems completely unafraid, he observed quietly to his partner. And look at the bear's body language. They're not showing any signs of aggression. Dr. Sarah Chen, the veterinarian who had arrived with the emergency team, approached cautiously. She had dealt with countless injured wild animals, but she had never seen anything like this. The mother bear was lying still, allowing Frank to continue treating her wounds while maintaining visual contact with the human child who held her cub. This is unprecedented, Dr. Chen murmured. Bears simply don't behave this way around humans. Well, these bears do, Zara said, her voice still tight with emotion. That mother bear saved my daughter from drowning in the stream. She dried her off with her own fur, brought us to safety during the storm, and protected us with her life. Ranger Martinez studied Zara's face, searching for signs of deception or trauma-induced delusion. But Zara's eyes were clear, her voice steady, despite her obvious distress. Ma'am, I need you to understand how impossible that sounds, the ranger said gently. I know how it sounds, Zara replied. But look around you. Look at what's happening right now. Does any of this look normal to you? Luna chose that moment to do something that left everyone speechless. She stood up, still cradling the bear cub, and walked directly to Dr. Chen. Baby bear's mama needs medicine, she said simply. Can you fix her? Dr. Chen knelt down to Luna's level, her professional training warring with her amazement at the situation. I'll do my best, sweetheart, but I need to get closer to examine her properly. Luna nodded and turned to the mother bear. She made a series of soft sounds, the same chirping and rumbling she had used with the cub. The mother bear responded with gentle rumbles of her own. I told her you're a doctor for animals, Luna announced. She says, okay. Dr. Chen felt her scientific worldview shifting as she approached the wounded bear. The animal remained perfectly calm, even lifting her head slightly to allow better access to her wounds. This level of trust between a wild predator and humans was simply unheard of. As Dr. Chen began her examination, using more sophisticated equipment than Frank's basic first aid supplies, Kevin, the young hunter, approached Zara hesitantly. Ma'am, I need you to know, we really thought we were doing the right thing, he said quietly. There have been attacks. A campsite was destroyed just last week, and a hiker was injured. Zara looked at him with new understanding. You were trying to protect people. We were hired by the county, Dale added, joining the conversation. Fish and Wildlife identified a problem bear in this area. We never would have. There is a problem bear, a new voice interrupted. Everyone turned to see Ranger Martinez holding her radio, her face grave. I just got word from base. We tracked the rogue bear this morning. It's been captured 20 miles north of here. The clearing fell silent, except for the sound of rain pattering on leaves and Dr. Chen's quiet murmurs as she worked on the mother bear. You mean, Frank said slowly, we shot the wrong bear? Not just the wrong bear, Ranger Martinez continued, studying the scene with new eyes. You shot what appears to be a mother bear who was protecting a human child. This could have serious legal ramifications. Dale's face went pale. We acted on the information we had. I know, the ranger said, but her expression remained serious. That doesn't change what happened here. Luna looked up from where she was now sitting beside the mother bear, the cub curled in her lap. Don't be mean to the hunters, she said to Ranger Martinez. They said sorry. Mama Bear forgives them. How do you know that? Dr. Chen asked, pausing in her treatment. Luna shrugged. She told me. She knows they were trying to protect people. That's what mamas do. Dr. Chen exchanged glances with Ranger Martinez. Both women had worked with wildlife for years, but neither had ever encountered anything remotely like this. The wounds are serious, but not life-threatening, Dr. Chen announced, continuing her work. We need to get her to the Wildlife Center for proper surgery, but she should recover fully. What about her cubs? Jake the paramedic asked, noting that there were actually 2 young bears now visible. The original cub Luna had befriended, and the slightly older one that had emerged from the cave. They'll need to stay with their mother, Dr. Chen replied. Separating them at this age could be traumatic for all of them. Luna looked up sharply. We can't leave them alone, she said, with the determination only a 3-year-old could muster. What if the bad bear comes back? Sweetheart, Zara knelt beside her daughter. The bad bear was caught. These bears will be safe. But what if they need help again? Luna's eyes filled with tears. What if Mama Bear gets sick? Dr. Chen found herself moved by the child's obvious concern. In all her years of wildlife rehabilitation, she had never seen such a deep connection between a human and wild animals. Tell you what, she said, making a decision that surprised even herself. How would you like to visit the Wildlife Center while Mama Bear recovers? You could help us take care of her. Luna's face lit up like Christmas morning. Really? I can help. If your mother agrees, Dr. Chen said, looking at Zara, and if you promise to follow all our safety rules. Zara felt overwhelmed by the day's events. 12 hours ago, she had been a grieving widow taking her daughter on a simple nature walk. Now, she was being invited to participate in the rehabilitation of a wild bear who had somehow bonded with her child. But as she looked at Luna's hopeful face, and then at the mother bear who was watching their conversation with obvious interest, Zara realized that some opportunities were too extraordinary to refuse. Yes, she heard herself saying. Yes, we'd like that very much. As the emergency team prepared to transport the mother bear, using a specially designed stretcher that would keep her comfortable, Luna made one final request. Can I ride with her? She asked Dr. Chen. She might be scared without Baby Bear. Dr. Chen looked at Ranger Martinez, who shrugged helplessly. Nothing about this situation followed normal protocols anyway. I think that can be arranged, Doctor, Chen said, but you'll need to sit with your mother and follow all our instructions. As they loaded the mother bear into the specialized wildlife transport vehicle, with the Luna and the cubs nearby, Frank approached Zara one more time. Ma'am, he said quietly, I've been hunting for 30 years, and I've never seen anything like what happened here today. That bear, she really did save your daughter, didn't she? Zara nodded, tears in her eyes, as she watched Luna gently stroke the mother bear's uninjured paw. She did more than save her, Zara replied. I think she might have changed her life forever. As the convoy of vehicles began the journey to the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, none of them could have imagined what they would discover there, or how this one extraordinary day would set in motion events that would challenge everything they thought they knew about the boundaries between human and animal, between wild and domestic, between what was possible and what was real. The rain was finally beginning to let up, and through the clouds the first rays of afternoon sunlight were starting to break through. But the most surprising revelations were still to come. The drive to the Pine Ridge Wildlife Rehabilitation Center took nearly 2 hours through winding mountain roads. Luna sat in the front passenger seat of the transport vehicle, talking softly to the mother bear through the protective barrier. Dr. Chen drove while monitoring the bear's vital signs on a portable device, amazed at how calm the animal remained despite her injuries and the stress of transport. "She's not showing typical signs of trauma," Dr. Chen observed quietly to Zara, who sat in the back with the two cubs. "Most wild animals would be in shock by now, especially after being shot and handled by humans." "Maybe she knows we're trying to help," Zara suggested, watching as one of the cubs nuzzled against her arm. "Or maybe," Luna piped up from the front seat, "she's not like other bears." Dr. Chen glanced at Luna in the rearview mirror. The child had been making those strange chirping and rumbling sounds throughout the journey, and each time she did, the mother bear responded with gentle huffs and low rumbles. It was as if they were having an ongoing conversation. When they finally arrived at the rehabilitation center, Dr. Chen was surprised to see Director William Hayes waiting for them personally. Dr. Hayes was a legend in wildlife rehabilitation, a man who had dedicated 40 years to helping injured animals return to the wild. He rarely came out for routine admissions. "Sarah called ahead," he explained as they unloaded the transport. "She said we had an unusual situation." "Unusual doesn't begin to cover it," Dr. Chen replied. "Bill, I need you to observe this interaction carefully. Document everything you see." As they wheeled the mother bear into the center's medical facility, Luna walked alongside the stretcher, her small hand resting on the bear's paw. The animal's eyes never left the child's face. "Remarkable," Dr. Hayes murmured. "In all my years, I've never seen a wild bear maintain this level of calm around humans." The medical facility at Pine Ridge was state-of-the-art, designed to handle everything from injured eagles to orphaned elk. But as they prepared the mother bear for surgery, something unprecedented happened. The bear refused to be separated from Luna. Every time the medical team tried to wheel her into the sterile operating room, she would lift her head and make distressed sounds until she could see Luna again. Her heart rate spiked on the monitors and she began showing signs of anxiety. "This is impossible, Doctor," Hayes said, reviewing the vital signs. "She's treating that child like her own cub." Luna seemed to understand the problem intuitively. She approached Dr. Hayes with the confidence of someone far older than her 3 years. "Mama Bear needs to see me so she knows I'm safe," Luna explained. "She thinks if she can't see me, something bad might happen." Dr. Hayes knelt down to Luna's level. "Sweetheart, we need to operate on her injuries. That means taking her into a special room where—" "I know," Luna interrupted. "But she needs to know I'll be here when she wakes up." Dr. Chen had an idea. "What if we set up a video monitor?" Luna could stay in the observation room, and the bear could see her on a screen during the procedure. It was an unusual request, but Dr. Hayes had learned to be flexible in his years of wildlife rehabilitation. They quickly set up a live video feed from the observation room to a monitor in the operating theater. Luna waved at the camera. "Hi, Mama Bear. I'll be right here waiting for you." The effect was immediate and astounding. The mother bear's vital signs stabilized, and she allowed herself to be wheeled into surgery without further protest. During the 3-hour operation to remove bullet fragments and repair damaged tissue, Luna sat quietly in the observation room, occasionally speaking to the camera in her mixture of English and bear-like sounds. Each time she did, the surgical team reported that the patient's stress levels decreased. "I've never seen anything like it," the lead surgeon, Dr. Amanda Foster, told Dr. Hayes afterward. "It's as if she could sense the child's presence even under anesthesia." While the mother bear recovered from surgery, Dr. Hayes took the opportunity to learn more about Luna's remarkable abilities. He set up a series of informal observations, bringing Luna into contact with other animals at the center. The results were extraordinary. A injured, red-tailed hawk that had been aggressive and fearful around staff became calm when Luna approached its enclosure. An orphaned deer that had been refusing to eat suddenly began feeding when Luna sat nearby, making soft cooing sounds. Most remarkably, a pair of wolf pups that had been rescued from an illegal breeding operation stopped their constant howling and began playing when Luna visited their pen. "She has some kind of natural affinity," Dr. Hayes explained to Zara as they watched Luna sitting peacefully among a group of rescued raccoons. "I've seen people with animal intuition before, but nothing like this." "Her father was like that too," Zara said quietly, speaking about her late husband for the first time since arriving. "Marcus could calm any animal, wild horses, aggressive dogs, even the neighbor's mean cat. Animals just trusted him." Dr. Hayes studied Zara's face. "Luna inherited it from him?" "Maybe more than inherited," Zara replied, her voice thoughtful. "The night before Marcus died, he told Luna that he would always watch over her, that he would send friends to help her when she needed them most." A chill ran down Dr. Hayes's spine. "When did your husband pass away?" 3 weeks ago. We came to the forest to heal, to say goodbye." Zara's voice broke slightly. "Luna's been having dreams about animals ever since. She kept saying Daddy was sending her animal friends." Dr. Hayes felt his scientific skepticism warring with what he was witnessing. In the pen, Luna was now surrounded by 6 different species of rescued animals, all of them calm and peaceful in her presence. "There's something else," Zara continued. "The morning we left for our hike, Luna packed her backpack herself. She brought extra snacks, a small blanket, and her father's old compass. When I asked her why she needed so much stuff for a short walk, she said, 'In case we meet new friends who need help.'" Before Dr. Hayes could respond, Chen burst into the observation room, her face flushed with excitement and concern. "Bill, you need to see this immediately," she said. "The mother bear's surgery went perfectly, but when we ran routine blood work, we discovered something that changes everything." They followed Dr. Chen to her laboratory, where she pulled up results on her computer screen. "The blood tests show she's been in contact with some kind of experimental drug," Dr. Chen announced. "Something that enhances cognitive function and emotional intelligence in mammals." "What kind of drug?" Dr. Hayes demanded. "That's the problem. It's not in any database I can access. But the molecular structure suggests it's incredibly advanced, decades beyond anything currently available." Zara felt her world tilting again. "Are you saying someone drugged her?" "Not drugged exactly," Dr. Chen corrected. "The levels suggest therapeutic treatment, not random exposure. Someone has been deliberately enhancing this bear's intelligence." Dr. Hayes sank into a chair, his mind racing. That would explain the unusual behavior, the bond with Luna, the lack of typical wild animal responses. "But who would do this? And why?" Zara asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Dr. Chen ran to her monitoring station, her face paling as she read the displays. "We have a security breach," she announced. "Multiple vehicles approaching the facility. They're not using the main entrance." Through the windows, they could see black SUVs surrounding the building. Men in dark suits were getting out, some carrying what looked like tranquilizer equipment. Luna appeared in the doorway, having left the animal pens when the alarms started. "Bad men are coming," she said matter-of-factly. "They want to take Mama Bear away." "Luna, how do you—" Zara started to ask, but she was interrupted by a loud banging on the facility's main door. "Federal Wildlife Authorities," a voice shouted. "Open immediately." Dr. Hayes moved toward the door, but Luna grabbed his arm. "Don't let them in," she said urgently. "They're not here to help." Sweetheart, if they're federal authorities— They're not, Luna interrupted, her young voice carrying a certainty that chilled everyone in the room. They're the ones who hurt Mama Bear before. Dr. Chen checked her computer again, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Bill, there's no record of any federal inspection scheduled for today, and these vehicles aren't showing up in any government database. The banging on the door grew more insistent. You have 30 seconds to comply, or we're coming in. Dr. Hayes looked at his colleagues, then at Luna, who was now holding Zara's hand tightly. In 40 years of running the rehabilitation center, he had never faced a situation like this. The back exit, he said quietly. We need to get Luna and the bears out of here, now. The bears are still recovering from surgery, Dr. Chen protested. Then we move them anyway, Dr. Hayes replied grimly. Something tells me leaving them here would be much worse. As they prepared for an emergency evacuation, Luna walked to the intercom system that connected to the recovery room where the mother bear was resting. Mama Bear, she said into the microphone, we have to go now. Can you walk? From the recovery room came a series of rumbles and huffs that everyone except Luna found impossible to interpret. She says yes, Luna announced, but she wants to know if we're all staying together. Yes, Dr. Hayes said firmly, making a decision that would change all their lives. We're all staying together. But as they began the most unusual evacuation in the history of wildlife rehabilitation, none of them realized they were about to uncover a conspiracy that reached much deeper than enhanced bears and mysterious federal agents. In her backpack, still packed from their morning hike, Luna carried her father's compass. The needle was spinning wildly, pointing not north, but toward something else entirely, something that would soon explain everything about the mother bear's extraordinary abilities, Luna's mysterious connection to animals, and why dangerous people were willing to do anything to capture them. The truth was more incredible than any of them could have imagined. As they rushed through the facility's back corridors, Luna's compass spun faster, its needle glowing with an otherworldly light that none of the adults seemed to notice. The mother bear, despite her recent surgery, moved with surprising strength, supported by Dr. Chen and Dr. Hayes. The two cubs stayed close to Luna, as if drawn by an invisible force. The emergency exit is just ahead, Dr. Hayes whispered, but as they rounded the corner they found their path blocked by more men in black suits. End of the line, the lead agent said, raising a tranquilizer gun. Hand over the child and the bears. Luna stepped forward, no longer the frightened 3-year-old she had been that morning. There was something ancient and powerful in her young eyes. You can't have them, she said quietly. They're under protection now. The agent laughed. Protection? From a little girl? Luna opened her backpack and pulled out her father's compass. The moment it left the bag, the entire facility was bathed in a warm, golden light. The compass wasn't just spinning, it was singing, emitting a low, harmonic tone that seemed to resonate from the very walls. What the hell? The agent started, but his words were cut off as every animal in the rehabilitation center began to respond to the sound. The injured hawk burst from its enclosure, its wings suddenly healed and strong. The wolf pups appeared in the hallway, no longer small and helpless but radiating power. The deer, the raccoons, dozens of animals that had been rescued and rehabilitated over the years, all of them emerged from their enclosures and gathered around Luna. Dr. Hayes stared in wonder as he realized what was happening. They're not just healing, he whispered. They're transforming. The mother bear rose to her full height, her surgical wounds closing before their eyes. Her fur shimmered with the same golden light as the compass, and when she looked at the agents, her eyes held wisdom that transcended species. "This is impossible, Doctor," Chen breathed, but even as she spoke, she felt something changing within herself. The same warmth, the same connection to something larger than human understanding. Luna turned to face the adults who had helped her. "My daddy didn't just send me animal friends," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that matched the compass. "He sent me guardians and teachers and family." The lead agent tried to fire his tranquilizer gun, but nothing happened. The weapon seemed frozen in his hands. Around him, his team was backing away as more animals appeared, not just from the rehabilitation center but from the forest itself. Bears, wolves, eagles, deer, even mountain lions emerged from the wilderness, all drawn by the compass's call. "You see," Luna continued, walking toward the terrified agents, "Daddy was working on something very special before he died. He was trying to find a way for humans and animals to understand each other again, the way they did a long, long time ago." Zara felt tears streaming down her face as understanding dawned. The experimental drug in the mother bear's system. Daddy's work, Luna nodded. But it wasn't just medicine. It was love. And when he died, his love didn't disappear. It became something bigger. The compass in Luna's hands pulsed brighter, and suddenly everyone in the hallway could hear what Luna had been hearing all along. The voices of the animals, clear as human speech, but deeper, older, filled with wisdom about the earth and harmony and the connections between all living things. The mother bear spoke, and this time everyone understood her. "We have been waiting for the bridge builder to return," she said, her voice like warm honey in their minds. "The child carries her father's gift, but magnified by innocence and pure intention. The experimental treatments were just the beginning," added the elder hawk, perched now on Dr. Hayes' shoulder. "True communication comes from the heart, not from chemistry." The agents were backing toward the exit, their mission forgotten in the face of something they couldn't understand or control. "This isn't over," the lead agent called out. "Yes, it is," Luna replied gently. "Because now everyone will know. The secret is out." As if on cue, the sounds of news helicopters filled the air. Someone, perhaps Dr. Chen's emergency alert system, had notified the media. Within minutes, cameras would capture footage of a 3-year-old girl communicating with dozens of wild animals in perfect harmony. But Luna wasn't finished. She walked to each person who had helped her that day, Zara, Dr. Hayes, Dr. Chen, even Frank the hunter who had bandaged the mother bear's wounds. As she touched each of them, they felt the same connection she had, the ability to truly understand the animals around them. "The gift doesn't belong to just one person," Luna explained. "Daddy wanted everyone to have it. That's why he made me the bridge." Dr. Hayes knelt down to Luna's level, tears in his eyes. "Your father's research. This was his plan all along, wasn't it?" Luna nodded, but then her expression grew sad. "He didn't know he would have to leave so soon, but he told me that if anything happened to him, I should find the mother bears of the world and help them teach people how to love better." The mother bear approached Luna one last time, nuzzling the child with infinite gentleness. "You have given us the greatest gift," she said, "the chance to share our wisdom with your kind again." "Will you stay?" Luna asked hopefully. "We will always be here when you need us," the mother bear replied. "But now our job is to teach other humans what you have taught us, that love transcends species, that healing comes from understanding, and that the earth is big enough for all of us to share." As the news crews arrived and the story began to spread around the world, Luna sat peacefully surrounded by her animal family. The compass had stopped spinning and now pointed steadily in a new direction. Not north, but toward hope. Zara wrapped her arms around her daughter, finally understanding that their journey to the forest hadn't been about saying goodbye to Marcus. It had been about discovering that his greatest work lived on in Luna, and through her, in everyone willing to listen with their hearts instead of just their minds. The mother bear had indeed bathed Luna by the stream that morning, using her own fur as towels. But what happened next wasn't just shocking. It was transformational. It was the beginning of a new chapter for humanity, one where the barriers between species dissolved in the light of pure, unconditional love. Dr. Hayes looked around at his rehabilitation center, now filled with healed animals and humans who could finally understand each other completely. "I think," he said with wonder, "we're going to need a much bigger facility." Luna giggled, the sound pure and joyful and somehow containing all the promise of the world to come. "Daddy says not to worry," she told him. "He's been preparing a place for everyone." And somewhere, in the space between heartbeats and hope, Marcus Mitchell's spirit smiled, knowing that his greatest experiment had succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. Love, it turned out, was indeed the most powerful force in the universe, capable of bridging any gap, healing any wound, and transforming any heart willing to receive it. The mother bear gave Luna one final, gentle lick on the forehead, a blessing, a promise, and a thank you all in one. Then she and her cubs walked peacefully into the forest, knowing they would return whenever they were needed. After all, family always comes home.